Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible Teaching Snippet of the day. Yesterday we were talking about King Herod, him slaughtering all the baby boys in the Bethlehem area. I made a comment that you might not have caught, and I said that I did not believe this was a one-time event. What I meant by that is I believe that this was an ongoing, massive manhunt, very extensive, and that King Herod was not going to stop until he was assured that he had killed this child. And I want to show you the reasons why I believe that today. Let's start with some very basic information. We've already established that King Herod is extremely paranoid. He kills his family members and anyone else that he feels threatened by. So we have the wise men come into town, which would have set him on edge, and he's already paranoid. He finds out that the wise men are correct, that it is prophecy, that the King of the Jews would be born in Bethlehem. Now you know that set him even further on edge. Watch this. The wise men don't even come back and tell him where this one baby is so he can kill this threat to his kingdom, this replacement. Herod was called King of the Jews. That's how he called himself. And he just got told by the wise men his replacement had been born. So he's infuriated at this point. He would not have been satisfied with just killing baby boys, not knowing for sure. And I want to show that to you today in Scripture. First, I want to start with Luke chapter 2, verse 22. This is the account where Joseph and Mary carried Jesus in to the temple at only 8 days old. Jesus was circumcised, and they recorded his name. The temple, back in those days, was like a courthouse is to us. That's where they kept all the records, and so Herod would have known this. Herod would have sent people to the temple to get the names of all the Jewish baby boys that were born that were 2 years old and younger, and he would have had a list right there. I'd call it a hit list right in front of him on strategically who they were, who the parents were, the bloodline, and all of that. Most likely they knew exactly where Jesus was living. Let's go a little bit further. Now, outside of the Bible, not in the Bible, but outside of the Bible, the Orthodox Church records that Zechariah, John the Baptist's father, was brought in and questioned by Herod about where John the Baptist was. He fit in that age group of boys. Zechariah did not give John up, and Herod killed Zechariah. I find it very interesting that God hid John the Baptist in the wilderness, and he hid Jesus in Egypt, and Herod didn't kill either one of those boys. Now, the next place I want to go, let's go back right over to Matthew chapter 2, and let's talk about just catching a few little hints made in Scripture. I'm at verse 13, and this is where the angel, and Joseph has lots of dreams here, and the angel comes to Joseph in yet another dream. He's already had some, but he's in this dream. It tells him to get up, take the kid, and go to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you to return, because Herod is starting to look for the child. So right there, we know that Herod has started his manhunt. When we go down to verse 19, we see that Herod has died. I want to tell you real quick how Herod died. This particular king, Herod the Great, died of kidney failure. It was a slow, agonizing, painful death, and he tried to commit suicide by stabbing himself, and it didn't work. He didn't die, and so now he's in pain from the wound, and it gets infected, and he has gangrene as well. He also has an infection down in his rectal area that is very, very painful. But King Herod dies in verse 19. Moving to verse 20, the angel comes back to Joseph in a dream and says, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and go back to the land of Israel, because the people who were trying to kill the child are now dead." Did you catch it says the people? That means that there was more than just Herod sending an order out to go hunt for some babies one night. No, this was an ongoing hunt, and The next thing I show you is going to even prove it even more. When we go down to verse 22, Joseph is scared to go back to the Jerusalem area because Archelaus, the son that took Herod's place in Jerusalem, is now in rule. And Joseph is scared of that king continuing the search for the baby boy born king of the Jews. So here we go with one more dream. Joseph has a dream, and the angel says, "Withdraw and go to the area of Galilee, to a town called Nazareth." Now, I already told you in the last snippet that King Antipas was the one that was over Galilee. It's 80 miles away, and his brothers, the two brothers, the king in Jerusalem at the time and the king in Galilee, were enemies, even though they were brothers. So Jesus would have been tucked away in a safe place, away from King Herod in his order to kill him. But here's what I want to end with today, and I want to take the time to tell you this because this is very interesting. The king that is in Galilee, King Herod's son, Antipas, who is king right now while Jesus is still a boy, would still be the king of Galilee when Jesus becomes a grown man, and so is John the Baptist. These men are over the age of 30, and King Antipas in Galilee is still the king in the area. Jesus and John the Baptist would see this king. John the Baptist would be arrested and beheaded by King Herod in Galilee. And then Jesus, when he's arrested and carried to Pilate, then Pilate sends him to the King Herod in Galilee. This is the same king. The king that protected Jesus, Jesus would stand before him again as a grown man before he's crucified. And King Herod here in Galilee, even though he mocked Jesus, put a royal robe on him, and did a lot of mean things to him, he sent him back to Pilate and said, "I find this man to be innocent." I think that's a very interesting detail that very few people know about the Bible. So that's all I have for you today, and God bless you, and I'll see you again right here on Facebook. Bye-bye.